Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Karnataka Veterinary Animal and Fisheries Sciences University, Bidar, in collaboration with Department of Fisheries, Government of Karnataka, and College of Fisheries, Mangalore, organized an webinar on bioflug technology, opportunities and challenges. In fact, we initiated this program based on the request and the order from the secretary through the tweet. Many were interested in bioflug technology, and they were tweeting the secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries. Based on that lead, we have initiated this program, and till now the response is very huge. Though only 50, 60 people have come online, many will be joining us very soon. I welcome Chris, Dean College of Fisheries, sir, Dr. D. Sinappa, Senior Agriculture Consultant, and the speakers, Dr. Deptanu Burman from West Bengal, Dr. Sasmal from Chhattisgarh, Dr. Jillu Rahman from Bangladesh, Dr. Eric Ogelo from Kenya, Mr. Suo Sarkar, one of the leading RAS consultant from Maharashtra, and Mr. Hitendra, who has done a big bioflog project in Karnataka with 250 tons capacity per annum, Mr. Hitendra, and Mr. Vishwanath, Deputy Director of Fisheries, will be enlightening us with the schemes and initiatives of PMMSY, and Mr. Dinesh Kumar Kaller, Joint Director of Fisheries Inland, and all the participants across the country and department officials and my own colleagues. I welcome all the gathering. There will be overview presentation on bioflug technology by me. Later, Mr. Vishwanath will be enlightening about the schemes and initiatives of the PMMSY, and later experts will comment, share their opinion, share their success stories, and there will be open house discussion. At the end, Dr. D. Sinappa will wrap up the session and give the take-home message. This is how the program is scheduled. May I now request Sri Ramacharya Puranik, Director of Fisheries, Government of Karnataka, to greet the occasion, to address the participants. After that, I request our Dean to take over. Sri Ramacharya, please. Kindly unmute yourself and take on, please.
Good morning, gentlemen, all the participants who are there in this virtual meet from India and abroad. I would like to thank Dr. Shivkumar Magad and his team for arranging this webinar, so which will definitely help the farmers in Karnataka, so that as far as Karnataka is concerned, marine catches are almost stagnant around say 4 lakh metric ton. As far as inland fisheries is concerned, we have a lot of scope for the reservoir development, and of course this technology infusion, RS or bioflug technology, which need to be disseminated to the different levels, so that even public can come to know that what is exactly bioflug. So by doing that, what can be done? See, during this pandemic, I think RS and bioflug, these two technologies can be developed, definitely we can increase double the income of the farmers by 2022. And as far as our record shows that last year we have given nearly some 95 people for approval for going through this technology, and wherein we have completed nearly 50% of them, they have taken up, and other 50% they are into it. So definitely this biofloc technology needs to be it has to be given wide publicity to the public through social media, so that majority of them, because it takes a lesser quantity of water, where it can be started anywhere in even drought hit district can also be covered this technology. So I request all the participants to participate in the virtual meet very actively, so that maybe more probably I have a meeting which is being conducted by Government of India. I'm supposed to attend that meeting. I have a short of time, but once that meeting concludes, then definitely I'll come and join with you people. I wish all the success for this virtual meeting, and especially the participants who are from other countries. Let them share their actual practical whatever experience they have, so that will help India to move forward. Thank you one and all. I wish all the success for this virtual meeting. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request our Dean, Dr. Senthil Vale, to address the gathering and the participants.
Yes. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Shivkumar for inviting me to this very important webinar. Good morning to all, one and all. It is from length and breadth of the country people have joined, and also from abroad. I can see many recognizable faces, like Dr. Shinappa is there, Dr. Ramachari is there, and several other of my colleagues are here, eminent speakers are there. So I'll keep myself very brief. I've been asked here to give a introductory remarks, my opinion about this entire webinar, which is so important at this time. So it will be very fortunate for me to having to hear you all and take your experiences, because we are in academic and a research unit. So whatever your experiences are there, it is beyond the textbooks what we are teaching here. So this will all go as an input to our researchers, so that we can develop it further. Now, at present, when we are scrambling through the second phase of the pandemic, and people here are, unemployment and other opportunities are shrinking over a period of time. So we are, grappling in a situation where we don't know what next. So such is the confusion everywhere. But fortunately, India is so robust that our food production has not decreased, and we are able to keep up the momentum of food production. And fisheries contributes to one of the major sectors, which provides not only nutritious food, but also large amount of employment, which is so important at this juncture. Now, given this webinar of Biofloc, this is a scheme, not very new or very rocket science is there, but it is based on application. Like what a West Bengal farmer can do, the same thing can be done by a Kenyan or also from a Tamil Nadu person. Only thing is he has to adapt. So this webinar will provide an opportunity to share the experiences, learn from them, and implement it. I'm so fortunate that the College of Fisheries is presently preparing a document for the government of Karnataka for implementation of blue economy, and also we have been given the task of formulating projects under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So we have formulated projects worth more than 2,000 crores. We have prepared a document for blue economy for the entire country. Now the biofloc or the fishes production is one of the major sectors. As I have already told, and Dr. Ramachari has also rightly pointed out, the fish production provides a huge opportunity. And Karnataka, being a state which has got second largest water resources, both in terms of the marine and the freshwater, there is ample opportunity which is untapped so far. So this particular webinar will provide the young entrepreneurs to learn from the experiences from the academicians, the experts like Dr. Shinappa, Shivkumar, etc., who are there in the field and teaching them, and implement them not only in a very large scale, but also not only in the reservoir or ponds, etc., but even in the small areas, biofloc technology can be implemented. So I thank all the participants, and I also wish that this will lay a roadmap, and I learned a lot from here, and the outcome will be shared with me, and I'll duly incorporate all the recommendations in the reports that can be submitted either to Government of India or to the state government. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Sri Dinesh Kumar Kaller Joint Director of Fisheries Inland, because he is the person who has to take lead in increasing production by promoting biofloc and such other latest technologies. Mr. Dinesh Kumar, please.
Good morning to all. Thank you, Dr. Shukumar, for providing this opportunity to speak in this webinar, and also joining hands with the Department of Fisheries for technology infusion or dissemination to the farmers in this state. So this is a heterogeneous group because participants from other states and participants from other countries joined this webinar. So my request to Mr. Shukumar is that in future we have to organize a webinar for, especially for Karnataka people, those who are interested in taking up a biofloc and RAS system. Anyway, this webinar will also help our farmers because they have arranged consultants and experienced farmers, and they will share their experience and they will share their success stories. Definitely, it will help our farmers as well as our officers. As our Director of Fisheries remarks, we have given 95 approval for biofloc, establishing biofloc units, but some are already completed and some are in the progress. So definitely they need experience with already those who are doing this other states. Like some of our friends, they have done research on this biofilm using the bagasse and other things. But now technology has developed and it's going further. This technology has to reach the farmers, and as we know, knowledge is power. So I am not very much sure whether our officers or our Karnataka farmers are know about much. They don't know much about this technology. So in this webinar, a consultant and successful farmers sharing their experience, so they can take this their experiences and they can implement in their own units. So thereby we can increase the fish production of Karnataka as well as we can give the food security of the Karnataka state or world. Whatever. So I request all farmers from Karnataka and our department research, so be in this webinar till this ends, and take the knowledge and you can share with your farmers. Those who have not attended this webinar, you can share your experience and your knowledge to those farmers, and thereby they should be successful this story. Otherwise, tomorrow they should not blame department as well as our university or scientists. They are not given proper technology, they are not given proper advice, they are not given proper suggestions. Tomorrow they should not blame. That's why it is very much, it is need of our officers should learn things from experienced people and scientists. So I request all the participants all the best, and Dr. Shivkumar Magada and his team, I thank them, and hope after finishing this webinar, they will draw a proceedings and they will submit to Department of Fisheries and as well as College of Fisheries. So based on those recommendations, in future whatever has to be done from department side, we are ready to do, and we are ready to help the farmers. And for information of the Karnataka farmers, we have already prepared an action plan for 21-22 under PMMSY and already submitted to Government of India. So in that we have proposed almost 100 units for biofloc. So those who are interested, they can come forward and they can apply to our district officers, and they will keep those applications and in DLC meeting. After that, they will send to our head office. We will give approval. Thing is, your aim should not be to get subsidy. So you can subsidies to help you financially, but at the same time, you should be your economic condition be improved, and ultimately this technology should be successful. So that, as I already said, it will help us to increase the fish production, inland fish production as well as marine fish production in the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh, very much. I welcome Mr. Ramesh Immar, who is aquaculture consultant, who has worked in Nigeria, in India and east coast of India as an aquaculture consultant. I welcome him, and he will be sharing his experiences. And now the technical session will start, and I will be giving you the overview of biofloc technology and later experts will share their experiences. First of all, I pray the God Almighty to give you strength to take care of yourself, to give you ingenuity to take the to harness the science and technology to augment fish production, particularly in the field of fisheries and aquaculture. My dear friends, next 30 minutes, I'll be sharing the issues, concepts, the technology, and the present status of bioflok technology. And already I told you, this is not a stage to prove who knows better, though it is structured in a formal way. This is an informal training program where knowledge should flow from all the sides, and we have to come to the consensus and take the good leads and move forward. So I hope you're all seeing my presentation. Bioflok technology, opportunities and challenges. I thank our Pro Chancellor, Sri Prabhu Chauhan, our Fisheries Minister, Sri S. Angara, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. H. T. Narayan Swamy, Secretary of Department of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries, Major Manivan, Dr. B.V.C. Director of Extension, Dr. Emir Sri Ramacharya, Director of Fisheries, Dr. A. Senthilvel, Dean College of Fisheries, Bangalore, and staff of UOS, Government of Karnataka, FRS Board, and District Board. All the participants over here. And I request all the participants to mute yourself. And conditions apply, no mobile during the session, no crosstalk, ask right questions, take down, and be cheerful for 3 hours, ask right questions and go with the colorful feelings, and you can definitely perform better in your career. See, 800 million people depend on fisheries and aquaculture in the entire globe. As of now, 7.3 billion people are there, but it is expected to reach 10 billion by 2050. So we need to harness the established knowledge base, science and technology to increase production. Unfortunately, the production in marine sector is becoming stagnated and land resources are diminishing for various entrepreneurial activities. That's why aquaculture gives an immense opportunity to augment food production. Look at these issues. Micronutrient deficiency are often caused by not eating a diverse diet, including animal source of foods like fish. So this is what you have to remember. WHO, World Health Organization, recommends 20.3 kgs of fish consumption per adult per annum, whereas in India the per capita availability is about 12.8 kgs, and in Karnataka it's about 5.8 kg. So from 5.8 to 20.3, there is a big gap, and definitely Karnataka has or the India has all the potentials to augment fish production and increase fish consumption. Look at this. By 2025, Government of India has set a goal to increase food grain production to 350 million tons and fish production to 20 million tons. And as of now, country is producing 14.16 million tons, where 10.44 million tons comes from the inland sector and 3.72 million tons comes from marine sector. So our target is to achieve 20 million tons, and as of now, we are earning 46,500 crores through foreign exchange, and India has set a goal to achieve 200,000 crores. So this is all the India's target. I'm just targeting the second point. Look at this. India is doing well in terms of production of milk, papaya, jute, ginger. So what I'm trying to say in this slide is we need to move from production to productivity. As of now, we are producing 14.16, where marine 3.72, I said it, aquaculture 10.44, and total fish production in the country, in the world is 1.178 million tons. But look at the production and productivity gaps between the country, which is doing very well. They are producing 31.89 million tons from the aquaculture side, China, and India is 10.44. So this is where we have to understand the factors which are always associated with the success. If you believe the principles of science are same throughout the world, if China can attain, if Vietnam can attain such targets and productions, even India also can produce so much of fish. Only we need to follow the principles, procedures, practices which they practice. And we all know these facts. The marine catch is diminishing and aquaculture share is increasing. So understanding what is not said. While addressing the participants, our dean said, it's not a rocket science. It's only application of mind. Science is not changing every day, but our understanding is changing. If someone says bioflok technology or RAS is new age technology, it's not so. Bioflok is as old as, it's a 4 decades old technology. But only commercialization has taken up commercial scale in the recent past. If you look at this angel fish, all the things will not be said in the classrooms. It is laterally compressed. It means it lives in a flowing waters. It has darkened light bands. It means it lives in vegetative area. It has superior mouth. It means it is pelagic. It has small stomach. It means it is tending towards carnivorous diet. And normally, ornamental fishes live in upstreams. Upstream means more oxygen. Upstream means acidic water. They may live anywhere, but they live only in acidic water. So likewise, whatever the established knowledge base is there, if you can understand to readjust, understand, relocate, restructure, definitely fish production can be increased. So if you're ready for change, I'll speak for another 15 minutes. So bioflok, though I say it's a recent technology, but it is 40 years old technology, particularly developed for shrimp farming or the fishes which are having nebulous nature, nibbling nature, omnivorous in nature. Fish and shrimp use these microorganisms. As the name itself indicates, bioflok means, bio means life, live organisms, flock means aggregated thing. So fish and shrimp use these microorganisms aggregated as additional feed source and increase productivity by reducing the dependency on the external diet. Biofloc technology is a technique of enhancing water quality in aquaculture through balancing carbon and nitrogen in a system. Normally, the higher order animals will excrete 25% of the nitrogen they ingest, whereas lower order animals, they excrete 75% of the nitrogen. So nitrogen compound is plenty in the system. If we can add supplement carbon and maintain the carbon and nitrogen ratio more than 12, all these microorganisms, fecal matter, suspended solids will flocculate and they become good source of feed. 60% of the food that is produced in the bottom of the pyramid in any pond system, there will be, in nature I'm telling, 3 to 5 trophic levels. And in order to get 1 kg of fish in the top trophic level, we need to have 1000 kilograms of energy in the bottom of the pyramid. This bottom of the pyramid will have the food which is less than 60 micron. Even fishes cannot harvest it. They will pass through the gills. When we maintain the carbon and nitrogen level more than 12 ratio, all these will flocculate, that will become a good feed source. If you look at the proximate composition, these biofloc will have more protein than the commercial diet. So the basic technology was developed by Dr. Yoram Avanimelek from Israel. Last October, on World Food Day, 16th of October, we invited Dr. Yoram, and he enlightened us on the basic principles of biofloc technology. So biofloc technology has become a popular technology in the farming of Pacific white shrimp Lithopenes venami. But people are trying to copy the same principles and procedures for producing tilapia, pangasius, pacu, and such other varieties of omnivorous fishes. So biofloc technology, initially known as bacteria floc, initiated in fish, particularly tilapia, by Yoram in 1980s. And it was tried in Blaze in 1990s and later tried in Indonesia, Malaysia. And if they can succeed, if Blaze, Indonesia, Malaysia, farmers can succeed, what is that stopping us? What is that we have not followed? What is the principle we need to learn? That's what we need to discuss today. Biofloc, I told you, whatever the organisms which are less than 60 micron, when you maintain carbon and nitrogen ratio in more than 12, 15 to 18 is best, it will add cost. So this is what it looks like in ocular microscope. Biofloc defined as micro or macro aggregates of diatom, microalgae, fecal matter, exoskeleton, dead organisms, bacterial and other invertebrates, said by DCamp O. Biofloc has higher protein than the feed, said by Yoram 2005, and you can also test it. Look at the floc composition, 43% crude protein and carbohydrate it depends because there are many carbon sources. It all depends on the carbon source. By and large, most of this, the carbon sources will have, biofloc will have more protein as high as 43% and carbohydrate as high as 36% and lipids as high as 12.5%. So in this context, we need to harness. Otherwise, if you don't harvest these heterotrophic food that is produced in the system, that will go waste. Whereas we need to spend a lot of energy to treat the water, and we need to spend more amount on external diets. Next slide, please. Well said, biofloc. So normally, biofloc farming can be taken up in a smaller area, in a modular tanks, ranging from 5,000 liter capacity to any size. If you can hold water, any size by principle. And normally, ideal water depth would be 1.5 meters, 1.3 to 1.5 meters. But in order to flocculate all these heterotrophic food, we need more oxygen. Earlier, we used to use paddle wheel aerators where the air bubble size was 2 to 3 mm. Where now, there are the diffuser where the air bubble size can be reduced to 0.1 mm so that the more surface area can be increased and more oxygen level can be maintained throughout the farming system. Next slide, please. Look at these, the diffusers. Through the latest technologies, these diffusers will be able to produce the air bubble of 0.1 to 0.2 micron size. And this is one of the successful farms near Mangalore, where one of our farmers in about 3,000 meter squares is doing biofloc shrimp farming, and he has attained about 28 to 30 tons of production in 4 months period. So this is what I'm trying to say. If that is attainable yield by following certain procedures, by recreating the same setup, same procedure, same protocols, others also can attain the same yields. That is attainable yield. Maximum attainable yield is still higher, but on an average, one can get so much. Next. So this is how they do test sampling to see the the feeding habits, feeding rate, and normally in a feed-based shrimp farming system, if you look at the gut, it will not be continuous because of the high stocking density, because of the bullying nature of the faster growing ones, and because of the uneven distribution of the feed, there will be discontinuous gut. But whereas in biofloc system, all the shrimp will have full stomach. They'll get the uniform feed. There'll not be very big competition to get the feed because flock will set in throughout the pond system. Next. This is one of the projects funded by Government of Karnataka under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana scheme near Bidadi, Bangalore. It's 100-ton capacity biofloc project where they're using 4-meter dia tanks, 10-ton capacity tanks for nursery phase, and 30-ton capacity for growth. Now they're growing common carp, waku, pangases, tilapia. In about 2 months, tilapia have attained 280 grams. And it is working out so well, but we have not yet concluded the project. It's going on. We have not yet concluded the economics, but it has given a good trend. And soon after my presentation, Mr. Praveen, who is taking care of the entire project as a consultant, will be live from that site. I'm very surprised to see biofloc tanks on the roof. So it is so handy, convenient, even on the roof. One can construct or one can position the modular tanks, one or two tanks, and they can produce the fish and consume themselves, or whatever the excess, they can sell it to the market and earn an additional income. Next. And biofloc can be taken up in the backyards also. If you can have one or two tanks in the backyards, definitely you can earn additional income, and even the fish consumption in the household will increase. And this is a small farm supported by PMMSY, and I see two of the officers, Mr. Chitana, DD, Fisheries, Bangalore Urban, and Mr. Dr. Babu. And the site looks very neat. They have just initiated, and Mr. Praveen Reddy, who is the owner of that project, contacted us for the technical know-how, and very soon we will be stocking the tanks with tilapia. And I also told Mr. Praveen Reddy to stock shrimp along with the fish. We are also learning, not that we know everything end-to-end process of biofloc, but definitely we can succeed. Definitely you will not go under loss. There will be fluctuation in the profit, but we know the basic principles of science. In the same place, one can grow fish as well as shrimp after suitable acclimatization. Next slide. And different systems, we know the principles of aquaculture cannot be written in indelible ink. It is all context based. It is based on your resource type. It is based on your investment capacity. It is based on your technical know-how. So depending on the site, we can customize the technology. We can customize the business scale. So that's what we don't specifically mention or recommend any of the structures. Either you go for plastic lined tanks, cement tanks, modular tanks, iron tanks, steel tanks, FRP tanks. It depends on the trade-off. But ultimately, as a scientist, we can say we have to hold the water. We talk about the area, we talk about the depth, we talk about the water quality parameters, chemical and biological parameters. Next slide. Look at these tanks, and hardly it costs about 2.5 to 3 rupees per liter. And the industry has come out with varied shape, varied size, varied materials to hold the water, and definitely any structures can be used. And here, before you implement these technologies, you must know minimum viable size of the project. And to have a sustainable production and better income, I would recommend 10 tanks of 10 ton capacity. It means 4 meter diameter tanks with 1.5 meter height. If you do it in a 1 or 2 tanks, you will have to invest more time and energy, and the benefit cost ratio will not be that better. So please understand minimum scale of economy before you implement and take up these advanced technologies. Otherwise, you will go under loss. Please. Normally, the biofloc tanks, biofloc project has to be covered with a shade net to cut off the excess light. Look at the ingenuity of our farmer. He has just, through the scaffolding, he has raised the bars and put the shade net. Instead of wasting the material for the entire area, this is how, using your common sense, using your ingenuity, indigenous technical know-how, we can cut down the cost. Cost reduced, cost saved is revenue earned. So that's why Many people will go for the polythene sheets with iron materials. They go for CCTVs. So I request in the first phase, concentrate only on the technical know-how. Later, depending on your production and the income, cash flow, you can beautify the farm. But in the beginning, concentrate only on the technical issues that are related to augment production. Look at these ferrocement tanks, very costly. It costs about 28 to 30 rupees per liter. On the other hand, just dug out tank with 600 micron plastic line tank. Hardly it costs about 1.5 to 2.5 rupees per liter. So it all depends on the trade-off. Next. So now I assume that you know how to hold the water of varied size, of varied depth, minimum depth of 1.3 to 1.5 meter. So now pond preparation. You have to prepare the pond. Once the structures are ready, fill the water through a mesh or a filter bag to capacity up to 30 to 40%. Don't fill the entire tank to the rim or brim. Leave it for a day because all the obnoxious gases will escape in 24 hours and all the suspended solids will settle down. And then add 100 grams of lime and 100 grams of salt per ton of water. Ton means 1000 liters, a meter cube of water. After a day, because we need to give the contact time for the chemicals to react with water after a day, add jaggery at the rate of 1 kg per ton of water and add biofloc inoculum. Though you can produce biofloc on your own using the in-house microbes, diatoms, in order to have the biofloc at a shorter period of time, you are advised to use the commercially available inoculum as prescribed by the company or the consultant and wait till the biofloc sets and then fill the tank to the full level by leaving 10 to 15 centimeter freeboard. If you don't leave it, whenever you put on the aerators, fishes will have the habit of jumping and there are very chances of fishes jumping out and dying. So leave the freeboard sufficiently and stocking. So now you decide the fish species. For biofloc, we prefer only omnivorous fishes which have the nibbling habit. Definitely common carp, rohu, tilapia, shrimps will be better. But now people are trying the species like Wompak, Bimaculatus, Paku, Marl, but that's not a biofloc technology. So of course, I'll come to the hybrid technology later. If you want to call it as a biofloc, if you want to harness the heterotrophic food chain, if you want to reduce the cost on feed, you have to use the fish species which are suitable for biofloc. If you don't want biofloc, if you want to have only clear water system and feed externally, that's a different concept. So stock the ponds with 4 to 5 centimeter tilapia fingerlings as prescribed by the experts or consultants. Normally, they are stocked at 0.2 to 0.3 liter. It means 200 to 300 seeds to 1000 liter of water. Initially, go for this moderate stocking density. Once you develop the confidence on water management, feed management, disease management, definitely you can increase the stocking density. But at first, I recommend the lower stocking densities. And when the system is capable of handling the biochemical parameters, when the system means when you are capable of handling biochemical parameters, stocking can be enhanced in the subsequent cycles. Next. Feeds and feeding. Normally, in the beginning, you can feed 10% of the body weight in 4 rations, because normally omnivores fishes are continuous feeders. You can feed them 4 to 5 times a day and reduce to 2 to 4%. And normally, I am referring here only the culture period of 4 to 5 months with tilapia, particularly hybrid tilapia like Citralada or gift tilapia. Earlier one. Okay. How to calculate carbon requirement? There are many simpler ways to calculate the biofloc carbon requirement. I will take the example like this. If you have 100 kg of biomass in a tank and feeding them with commercial diet at the rate of 4% of the body weight, you need 4 kgs of feed. Suppose if the feed has 30% of protein, it means we have 1.2 kg of protein in total 4 kg of feed. So by taking a thumb rule that 16% of nitrogen in the protein, we have 0.192 kg of nitrogen in the system. I already told you fishes will excrete because they are poikilothermic lower order animals compared to the human beings. They excrete 75% of the nitrogen. It means the same 4 kg of feed will have 0.144 kg of nitrogen. In order to maintain CN ratio of 10, you need to add 10 times of carbon source. Carbon source may be molasses, direct sugar, rice bran, such other commercially available molasses, anything. So there's a simpler way. Every day you cannot calculate the protein in the feed. It is all set. It is all known fact. But every day you measure DO, dissolved oxygen, temperature, pH. DO will not be critical because there will be continuous aeration. pH will not be an issue because it can be altered using lime. And temperature, again, it will not be an issue. It can be altered or managed using induction water heaters. But ammonia is the issue in a high stocking density and where the feed waste, fecal matter, all that will contribute ammonia. So by measuring total ammonical nitrogen TAN using the field kits, and normally it should be less than 1 in the larval phase, and it can go up to, you don't have to maintain it. It should be less than 2.5 in growth phase. Next. So flock normally found but cannot be measured in the stage 1. In stage 2, flock found in small quantities less than 1 ml per liter. In stage 3, 1 to 1.5 ml per liter. In stage 5, you may get 10 to 12 ml per liter. Dr. Rajanna will be showing you the EMOF cone, and he will show you the level of flock in a well set biofloc tanks. Look at this. This is EMOF cone.
I think your last. Sharing the other one. Okay.
Okay. Okay, this is the IMOF cone. It is graduated, and normally 10 to 12 ml of bioflux should be there in a well set bioflux system. Okay, next. And normally in about 130 days, this so the flock fluctuates, and using our management strategy, we need to maintain at 8 to 10 ml flock on any given day. So now, we know the aquaculture 8, see, we were using wild seeds, later actually bed seeds, manuring schedule started. We started with rice bran and donut cake, but believe me, they were not the preferential feed. They were available in plenty those days, but now the grade 3 groundnut cake is about 55 rupees per kilo. Rice bran, you're not getting the rice bran because everything is going for rice bran oil, and that's also very costly. In that context, we have to go for these new age technologies. Now, people are using sinking feed pellets, and now floating feeds are there, but they are also costly because protein is costly irrespective of the source. So now BFT, bioflux technology, RAS, recirculatory aquaculture system, and CAS, clear water aquaculture system, and IoT based thing, you have to harness the beauty of the technology. Uh, uh, Unfortunately, people have the mixed opinion, complex opinion on bioflux technology. If you don't do it as intended, as prescribed, you will fail miserable. Next. So normally, by adding carbohydrates like starch, flour, molasses, cassava flour, or added sugar, the heterotrophic bacterial growth is stimulated and nitrogen uptake through the production of microbial proteins takes place. This is what the animals will consume, and this is what will keep the feed dependency on feed will be reduced, and normally it is expected to get the food conversion ratio of 1 or 1.1, whereas normally in conventional farming system the FCR is 1:1.4 and above. In RAS it is 1:1.2. In BFT, even if we reduce the FCR by 1 or 2 ratio, that will be very advantageous economically. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So now factors influencing the bioflux, the mixing intensity, that is what you have to know to position your diffusers. Dissolved oxygen, it will be not an issue. It may not be an issue because we use good diffusers throughout the culture period. Organic carbon source and CN ratio, TDS, temperature, that is during November, December, January, during the winter period, one has to use induction water heaters to maintain the temperature of 24 degrees and above. Otherwise, the growth rate will reduce and they simply consume feed and they don't grow. pH, it will not be a critical issue. It can be altered using lime, gypsum, total ammonia nitrate. This is very critical. All of you who have taken up bioflux technology must have this kit and measure the nitrogen on all these parameters every day and document it. And heterotrophic bacteria, once in a while you must see under the microscope, at least academicians and the officers, you must know what is the composition of the flock and the fish species. I already told you to choose the right fish species and right size. And now you need to change your thinking. What is successful in Israel or Myanmar, Vietnam? It should be successful here, provided you give the same, provided you follow the same procedures and protocols and production systems. So normally we used to think fish culture is 10 to 12 months period. That has to be eradicated and we must reduce it to 4 to 5 months. And scale. And we were happy with 1 to 2 kgs of fish production per meter cube. But what is attainable is 80 to 90 kg per meter cube. Technology, what is being practiced, now we are talking, but biofloc technology is 40 years old. So we need to copy all good things, irrespective of the region and economics. We must understand. See, just because in reservoirs farmers are able to produce the fish or sell the fish at a lower cost, you cannot produce the fish. You cannot compete with that price. But you must position your produce in such a way that by saying it is safely produced, heavy metal free, uniform growth, you have to add value and sell the fishes for better price, because most of the tanks are sewage fed. We don't know on the safety issues. In that context, definitely the cost of production in biofloc ranges from rupees 80 to 110. So you must be able to sell the fish in a different customized market. That's what processing. You have to pre-process the produce. Branding and marketing. You may sell the fishes with brand something like Lycius, Fresh to Home, something like this. And hard work to smart work. You have to reduce the cost of production.
It's 11
by
o'clock.
all means, and data management. If you have right data, definitely what can be measured can be managed. That's why data management is very important. I think I'm done. Next slide. And now SWOT of biofloc technology. SWOT means strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. SWOT, yes, biosecurity is possible, least water exchange, higher productivity, and good FCR. And weaknesses, capital intensive, high power cost, higher cost of production. And opportunities, smaller unit area. Anywhere it can be taken up. Even if you don't have land, it can take the lease, a small piece of land, and do biofloc farming. Employment generation, alternative livelihood, and live fish sales is possible. And threat, cost of production, power supply, ammonia, sudden mortality, and theft. Next. So look at the energy efficiency in this biofloc. We can produce up to 1100 kg per 1 HP of energy. Next slide. So lead for future research. This is what I want the people who are there in the academics and research to take the lead. Whether we can do seaweed farming in shrimp biofloc systems, pearl production in freshwater biofloc technology, because these mussels are filter feeders. Definitely pearl production can be taken up. Introduction of new candidate fish species, maybe exotic with after following the required procedures. Introduction of new species like jade perch, any other exotic fish species, because it is in the completely biosecurity system. And clear water aquaculture system. If you cannot manage biofloc or treat the water in RAs, even if you maintain clear water aquaculture, clear water, by feeding good feed, you can get better production and productivity. And fish seed rearing in biofloc, because we don't require more quantity of molasses or carbon source. And fish seed rearing can be taken up in biofloc, spirulina culture in biofloc, and live food culture in biofloc. These are the lead for future research. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you for your patient listening. We'll have the question hour later. May I now request, in fact, we have slightly changed the program since department officers are busy with some other higher level meeting. Now I request Mr. Vishwanath, Deputy Director of Fisheries, to educate us on schemes and initiatives of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. In brief, and more or less, they are applicable for the entire nation with slight changes depending on the region. and the participants who are from other states and countries, other states, can contact the department officers of your state to know the changes. But 90% of the schemes remain the same in the entire country. Mr. Vishwanath, please.
So, yes, thank you, Dr. Shivkumar. So, you're hearing me, no? I'll just open the presentation. Share now.
Mr. Vishwanath, wait, we'll share the slides from our system.
Yes, yes. Somebody is sharing, that is the problem, I think. No, I have to share. Answer ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅದು ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Shivkumar. I hope you have presented all the principles, mechanics of bioflux, and it has cleared the doubts of many participants about the concepts of bioflux. So I am now presenting on behalf of the Department of Fisheries, Government of Karnataka, about the schemes of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana and issues related to the schemes implementation from the department. So I'll be mainly focusing on the technology infusion schemes. Of course, in the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana is an umbrella scheme which covers from end to end, from pond to plate, I can say, all the activities. So for the purpose of this webinar, I'll be focusing only on the technology infusion schemes, how the support is being given by department and the government. So next slide, please. So we all know that PMMSY has a very broad objectives to enhance the fisheries sector in the country. So main objectives are harnessing fisheries potential in sustainable and responsible manner, enhance the fish production with a very increased target, focused target to increase the fish production from the present 15 million metric tons to 20 million metric tons by the end of the project is the goal, and every state has been given the target this time to achieve increasing the fish production. And apart from increasing the fish production, the goal is also to modernize the value chain system, post-harvest management, doubling of fishers and fish farmers' income, social and physical economic security, and enhance contribution to the economy of the country. So these are the major objectives of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Next, please. Next slide, please. So if we go through the pattern of assistance, there are three major components. That is central sector schemes, which gives 100% assistance to some of the government central schemes, and centrally sponsored schemes for the state governments with the portion of state share of the subsidy in that. So further, they're segregated into beneficiary-oriented schemes and non-beneficiary-oriented schemes. When non-beneficiary-oriented schemes is mainly for the states to construct their own infrastructure, markets, fishing harbors, and various other infrastructure components. Whereas in the beneficiary-oriented schemes, mainly the three categories of activities are supported. One is mainly the enhancement of production and productivity, which focuses on construction of fish ponds, I think somebody is trying to make presentation. We can stop this. Who is this? Prafulla Fish Farming. Please stop the presentation in between. You are trying to present. I think by mistake you are clicking on that. Okay, these are the main categories of the schemes that are being supported. Enhanced production and productivity focuses on production-oriented activities like construction of fish ponds, brackish water ponds, and such activities. And whereas the infrastructure and post-harvest management includes support for transportation, cold chain, retail outlets, like this for beneficiary-oriented schemes. And fisheries management and regulation framework is another major activity to support the fishermen to their livelihoods and certain management, fisheries management aspects. Next slide, please. And again, in this, the pattern of assistance is 40% for the general candidates, beneficiaries, and for women entrepreneurs and SC, ST category, special categories, there is a 60% subsidy portion. And these are the key strategies adopted in PMMSY for support the sector. Quality, the focus is mainly on cluster approach, quality, collectivization, like formation of fish farmers organizations, special area focus like northeastern Himalayan states, and strong institutional framework building, convergence of other schemes, private sector participation through entrepreneurship models, and end-to-end solutions with integrated projects, integrated fishing villages. Like this, there are various other components, strategies are being built into this Matsya Sampada Yojana to bring boost to the sector. Then next slide, please. So these are the key activities in under the beneficiary oriented, I can say, the inland fisheries and aquaculture with a focus on quality seed and area expansion, mariculture with focus on sea cages and bivalve culture, and technology and infusion through RAS and biofloc, ornamental recreational fisheries, seaweed cultivation and marketing, e-marketing, fish products, like reservoir development, aquatic health management, service, fisheries as a service, labs, mobile clinics. All these are the major activities being focused under this broad program. Next one. So coming to the technology infusion, again, all the advantages have been explained by Dr. Shiv Kumar. So major activities supported are recirculatory aquaculture systems, biofloc, aquaponics, and high density pond culture. So some of them are under beneficiary oriented schemes. Some can be proposed under innovative projects and other entrepreneur models. So the beneficiaries, we advise you to go through the entire guidelines being published by the Government of India in their own website, and it is available in all the departments, concerned departments, fisheries department websites. Kindly go through all the guidelines for each of the components, especially for the entrepreneurship models and innovative aspects. So most of these technology, a few components I'll be explaining in the next slide. What are the components available in beneficiary oriented schemes with 40% or 60% assistance, and remaining innovative projects, you can prepare a project and submit directly to the NFDB or Government of India or even to the state departments. So all the publications, notifications have been issued in their respective websites. Please go through the websites of NFDB, Department of Fisheries, Government of India, and also the state departments. So make use of all the components, or whoever is interested to expand your activities or take up the activities under innovative activities. So these are the advantages already explained by Dr. Magda. I don't go in detail, especially with the more focus on more production from the less water, and the production, what advantages of biofloc system has already been explained. what are the species cultured that can also have been given information. Let us go into the practical aspects. There are more presentations to come. So let us move on to the next slide. So especially when we concern to our states, as our director and joint directors briefed, we have supported this activity to 112 beneficiaries for all the activities. Mainly that 16 districts have been supported, and in 16 districts, 112 beneficiaries have taken up, and almost 50% have started the activity now. So we have supported up to about total project cost. This includes RAS as well as BioFlak. 22 crores total project cost worth projects have been supported in the year 2021 from the 16 districts. Next one. This has contributed to 16% of our total entire project cost under beneficiary oriented schemes. So these are the breakup under RAS. Large units, the 18 beneficiaries have taken, medium units 28 beneficiaries, and small units 7.5 lakh unit cost 52 beneficiaries have come forward. And this is another BioFlak unit of in a pond lined 0.1 hectare units in brackish water as well as fresh water. So some beneficiaries have come forward. Next one. So these are some of the projects that have come up already completed, and we have released the subsidy. In one such project is in Chikbalapur district, freshwater BioFlak unit, 0.1 hectare unit, who is taking up Vanami culture in that. Next one. So this is one of the small BioFlak unit of 7.5 lakh unit supported in Bangalore urban district. So some of the professional approach has come in, and still many beneficiaries are struggling for information, and they are yet to start set up the units. And hope this webinar will give a lot of information to our own officers to encourage them to come up with some professional approach to the construction of the units. Next one. So this is one more freshwater BioFlak unit near Bangalore only, at K. Gollahalli, urban district. Next one. So to go through the exact components available in the schemes, there are 5 major component activities or schemes supported under technology infusion projects. Technology infusion schemes under PMMSY. One is the establishment of large RAS unit with 8 tanks of minimum 90 meter cube capacity and fish production of 40 ton per crop, or BioFlak culture system of 50 tanks of 4 meter dia with 1.5 meter height each. So the unit cost is 50 lakhs for this. And general beneficiaries will get 20 lakh subsidy, and SC/ST women beneficiaries will get 30 lakh subsidy. Whereas establishment of medium RAS has a 6 tank of minimum 30 meter cube tank capacity with a fish production capacity of 10 ton per crop. So otherwise, yes.
I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. In the large scale BioFlak unit, 50 tanks of 4 meter dia. Why 4 meter dia is fixed?
So that is the scheme being designed by the central government. We have asked the clarification whether we can deviate with the total volume, or we have to stick to the same size of the tank and same number of tanks. But we are yet to receive the clarification. We will take this proceedings of this, and again we will write with the help of the technical scientists community. We will again discuss this issue, and many beneficiaries have asked this question, whether we should take up the same number of tanks with the same size, or we can alter the tank size with different volumes to match the same volume. So we have been asking, but
4 meter dia is not profitable venture at all.
We have to write the system, because we cannot deviate from the guidelines. We are insisting on the sticking on to these guidelines. So we will write to that again. We are again requesting the government of India to modify the guidelines, and again we have to discuss with the technical scientific community whether any deviations or any changes in the configuration or whatever sizes mentioned in this guidelines can be altered or not with the proper technical support, like whether it will affect the culture system or whether it will affect the total production or any other things. We have to write to this government of India and get the clarification. We will again come up with those guidelines. So will you please write to us, and we will also seek the clarification on this. Many have written. We are also requesting in the meetings about this.
For now, kindly reserve your questions.
Okay.
Discussion
We will discuss during the panel discussion. We can at the end of the presentations we can discuss all these issues. So okay, medium RAS should be which has 30 meter cube tank capacity for 10 ton per crop capacity, and biofloc culture system. If you are taking a biofloc culture system, 25 tanks of 4 meter dia with 1 meter height. So this is what is specified in the guidelines we are projecting here. With this has a unit cost of 25 lakhs and with a 10 lakh subsidy for general and 15 for SC, ST and women, 15 lakhs. So for small RAS unit, one tank of 100 meter cube capacity or biofloc with 7 tanks of 4 meter dia with 1.5 meter height. So culture system. So this is a unit cost of 7.5 lakh per unit and with the corresponding subsidy portions. So like that establishment of, there is a provision for backyard mini RAS if somebody is interested to take up their say terrace gardening, house gardening, some small unit with 0.5 unit cost 50,000 rupees that can be taken up by households. Like other components of technology infusion or cages in reservoirs and open water body pen culture. And this is not point of this webinar, but anyway, this is a part of technology infusion, and I have put it in this slide. Next one, please. So these are the type of documents you may have to submit while submitting the application. This is only a general list, and depending on the requirement of the state, you may have to add one or two other requirement documents, or you have to submit your beneficiary application. Along with the beneficiary application, you have to give your KYC like ID proof, address proof, photo, bank documents, Aadhaar number, and all this project activity, location, address where you are taking up the project, where you are residing, it could be different. Declaration for self-finance if you are doing self-finance, or bank loan consent letters if you are taking up a bank loan. And land-based, since this is most of these are land-based activities, so you have to provide your land ownership. And if you do not own a land, if you are taking the land on lease, you have to get it registered, lease document, at least for 10 years or 7 years, depending on the scheme. You have to go through the guidelines. For each of the schemes, it is clearly specified. For some of the components, 7 years. For some of the components, for larger units, for 10 years. So apart from this, relating to the project, you have to give for bigger projects, you have to give a detailed project report and proposal indicating economics of the activity, how you are going to earn back the money which you are going to invest, and what are the estimates of civil works if involved, and construction and the design of the unit, and quotations for the equipment, material, or whatever you are going to purchase to set up the unit. So these are the minimum required documents you have to submit along with the application. So our officers will visit the site, see the feasibility, GPS, they will take the coordinates and location details, feasibility and other recommendations they will do. And they'll submit it to the district. There is a district level committee at each district headed by the district commissioners, and it will be placed in those meetings for approval. Depending on the availability of budget, seniority of the application, there are various other conditions which differs from state to state and how they are operating the schemes. So you have to go through, you have to contact your nearest fisheries department for all these procedural details. Now in Karnataka, we have issued paper notifications in almost all the districts and fixing a last date for applications. Please go through our website and also contact our department officers for more details about how to apply and when to apply. Next one, please. So these are the things I wanted to present. Apart from this, I just wanted to add few points about the scheme and sustenance of the scheme, because a lot of applications are coming. As we have seen last year, 100 applications are coming. Now because of the awareness and publicity, many more applications are expected this year. So how are we going to sustain this? Whether they will become economically viable projects, availability of inputs and hardware materials in the locality, or access to those at a cheaper cost, all these things, and again the supply chain management and marketing of the fish grown in these units in such a high density. All these are the questions are still we need to answer. We gain formation of fish farmers or producers organization is another component which we are taking up. All these are coming up in the in coming days. We are taking up all these activities, and I hope this webinar will come up with answers for most of these questions. How to reduce the production cost? This is the major issue ahead of us, because ROI, return on investment, is the most important aspect. So hope webinar will deliberate on this, and I hope this information will help all the participants for taking this scheme forward and activity to support the sector. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and leave the floor to Dr. Shiv Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath, for briefing about the schemes of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. May I now request Dr.